Hi everyone. This is what we're going to be making. This is a finished product of the Ivy cover bag, and it's got 4 pieces. It's got 2 long pieces, a short piece, and then the elastic piece to hold it all together. And yeah. So what I have is I have my fabric on my rotary cutting mat, and I have it lined up. You need a 7 by 13 piece of fabric, and that's what I'm doing here. So once you get your first one cut out, it should be 7 by 13 square, then you're gonna wanna cut out one that's the exact same. So the next part is you need to take your fabric and you need to cut a 7 by 4 piece. And then stop it. Like that. Okay, and you only need one of these pieces. I forgot to say that in the last one. So now we're gonna iron it to create folds so that we can sew them together. So basically, you want to make a thin layer and fold that down and probably iron it just so it's easier to hold, and that kind of creates even all the way across. Oops. And then after you've done that, you want to fold it again and iron it again, and that creates the nice fold to be able to sew. Make sure you don't burn your fingers because it would hurt. And you want to try to make it even on both edges of your fabric piece.
Two seconds later.
Then you fold this over.
If they're getting smoked by like a lot, then we're just
So now that you have your other piece folded and ironed, now you're gonna do the 7 by 13 piece. And with your fabrics, you wanna make sure that it's the right side up so that you're not sewing it upside down and then the Ivy bag hangs upside down. So because this flag pattern doesn't really have an up or down, we're just gonna guess that this is the right way, so. And then what you're gonna do is like what you did with this piece. You're gonna fold just the top, fold it over, iron it, and then fold it over again and iron it to create that nice edge again. And then you want to repeat it on the other 7 by 13 as well. Okay, so now you're gonna take your small piece that you have folded and stuff, and you are going to want to sew it from the top point to the bottom on both sides.
I'll let Dylan go here.
Okay, so now that you sewed this piece together, you're gonna take and you're gonna put all the pieces together. So you're gonna lay your first 7x13 down with the pattern side facing up and your folded side facing down. And then you're gonna take your finished piece like this, and you are going to lay it at the top of your 7x13 with the pattern side facing up. And then you're gonna take your other side and you're going to lay it on top, pattern side down, and you're going to make sure that all your edges line up and that your folds line up as well, because if you fold too much at the top, it's going to be longer than the other piece, so you got to make sure that it's the same all the way around. Okay, so the next thing that you want to do is you want to fold your piece up like this and put elastic in there that helps hold the IV bag together, and you want to have it 2 inches up. And when you cut it, you want to make sure you cut it like a little bit longer than your bag here. That way you make sure it's long enough, and then fold this down, and then you end up pinning it so that it doesn't move when you start sewing. Okay, so the next part is you're going to sew it, but you're going to sew it around the border, leaving this top part, leaving it open. You don't want to sew that part yet. So. So now you have the sewn, and at this point you can take out the pins. You don't need them anymore. And you have it sewn around the edges. So now, in order for the bag, when you turn it inside out, to have nice corners, you're gonna wanna cut the corners and not cut your stitching, obviously, but just make cut kind of like that, and do it on both sides. So you have nice quarters on that side. So the next thing you want to do is to flip it inside out and make sure that you want to flip the elastic back over to the right side where this part is. You want to flip the elastic over to that side of your bag, and you want to make sure you go in and you push out your quarters. Zip cut. And should look like that. Okay, so the next step you want to do is just to make sure for this next part of sewing, you want to iron it first to make sure it lays flat and it's easier for you. So this next part is kind of tricky, but what you want to do is you want to pull this part up and sew the inside 2 layers of your bag. Make sure your layers line up. Once you get this piece sewed together, these 2 layers, next you're going to take this piece and you're going to sew the top part, but you want to make sure that you leave a small opening on the top part so that the Ivy bag can come through the top. So and make sure the opening is big enough, so about here I would say on the bag. And at this point the fabric's kind of really thick, so you want to make sure it might be kind of difficult to sew the fabric. Okay, so the finished product, just wanted to show you guys what it actually is going to look like. So basically, this is an Ivy bag. Tube comes out at the bottom. So basically it hangs like this and goes through like this, and the elastic will expand when it's full up, and then the nurses are able to scan the barcode and it hangs just like that.